I'm going to show this one time. It's going to be 5 seconds. This is probably going to be the most valuable slide of the day. You want to pull out your phone and take a snapshot. 5 seconds to take a picture of this.
Get ready.
So grab your phones. You'll have everything that you need from today from this one slide. Ready? 1, 2.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How many people
Nice.
did I get on that? So I do want to make, again, another commercial announcement. Okay, this is going to be one of the most impactful events that you can go to over the next 12 months of your career in real estate. And so we are going to Anaheim, California. Raise your hand if you've already signed up for family reunion.
Woohoo!
Look at that. Okay. The one invitation I want you to make, what usually holds people back? I asked this question last week. What holds people back from going to this event? Money and time. Okay. Think about it as an investment in yourself and your career, and realize that who are the people that are investing $2,000, investing time to go build their business, to go work on themselves. Those are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with. So please make that a priority. It is going to be valuable, especially during winter, which is this season, okay, that we're in right now. So please make that a priority. And let's test out and see if this one's working for us. Okay. So here is something that I really, all jokes aside, want you guys to write down, okay? Is wealth, getting into the topic for today, wealth is a game. And all games have a language. Wealth is a game, and all games have rules. Wealth is a game, and all games have a scoreboard. Soccer has a language, has rules, has a scoreboard. Baseball has a language, has rules, has a scoreboard. Cricket, language, rules, scoreboard. Football, language, rules, scoreboard. Wealth building, there's a language, there are rules, and there is a way to keep score. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And here's the reality, is that I'll actually go through some, raise your hand if you are a football fan or fanatic. Okay. We all know there's a few Cowboys fans in here, a few 49ers fans, right? Who knows nothing about football? Raise your hand. Have you ever had those friends where you're watching a game, and it could be any sport, and there might be a foul called or something happens, and they say, what does that mean? Have you had that interaction before? I want to read to you some common football terminology. Everybody raise your hand. Okay. I want you to put your hand down if I come across a terminology that you are unfamiliar with, or you don't know what that means. Okay. And I might call on a few of you to ask you to explain one of those words, so don't cheat. Okay. Everybody raise your hand and put your hand down if you come across a terminology you don't understand. Fumble, line of scrimmage, a sack, O-line, squib kick. Ooh.
Hello.
A pick six, flea flicker, wildcat. Anybody know there's wildcats in football? Face mask, it's not a mascot. Offsides, safety, interception, fumble. Wow, awesome. You can put your hands down. There's no winner. Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry, Talina.
Hello.
Talina, you have a bag of candy bars right in front of you, so you can take one. Okay. So here's the purpose of this conversation, is similar to all sports, okay, that I've mentioned. Money has a specific language. It has a specific set of rules. Now, I did not understand these rules when I started to make money initially. Back in 2013, I started my sales career, and I started it with knocking doors. And one of the things that was unbeknownst to me is that when you're in 1099 sales, you are in control of paying what at the end of the year? Your own taxes, right? I came from a previous industry where I was W-2. So they were taking that money out consistently. And I had grown my income pretty substantially, almost doubled my income, went from 22,000 a year in college to making 45,000 in a summer. And guess what I was doing with that money? Spending it. Yes. Okay, every Friday when I got paid, I'd go get a new pair of shoes or I'd go get a new watch. Somebody familiar with Nixon watches? I had at one point this one, the exact same watch, but I had every single color that Nixon offered. Okay. And so once my CPA said, this is your tax bill for the year, come April of the following year, and it was $6,000. And I said, wait, what? Right? I didn't understand the rules. I did not sell the watches. I have them as memorabilia to remember that moment, right? That learning, yes. And so, but one of the things that changed for me dramatically after that year is I had a mentor. Fast forward to 2016, and sorry, at that point it was 2015, and it was my first multi-six-figure year, okay, in sales. And I had this mentor who really hit me with something that changed my wealth psychology forever. Okay. And it was this idea, because I got to this point where I was making pretty good money, wasn't married at that time, didn't have a lot of bills or overhead. And one of the things that he said to me was this. He said, Shoni, you need to stop focusing on just making money and start building true wealth. Stop focusing on just making money and start focusing on building true wealth. And that's why we've put this panel together today, is to give you guys the playbook and hear some other people's journeys around their wealth building process. And I'm super excited to have this panel today and to really go through some of those language. This is the things that you guys really want to pay attention to as I'm asking some questions today, is the language. If you come across terminology that you're unfamiliar with, you should write that down and study it, okay? You're going to hear some rules of the game today. You should study that. And the last piece that I'll say is, this is not going to be something we'll go through today, but over time, we will actually get very clear about a scoreboard for your wealth. And that's something that we'll be delivering that will be very helpful in your wealth building journey. And that will be something that you can utilize to see if you're winning or losing the game. Okay. Does that sound good? Yeah. Awesome. So super excited. Go ahead and give a hand for our panel today. We've got Johnny Christensen, Brad Morgan, and Coco Zuniga. Give them a hand. Testing.
Hey. Next week's class, updated headshot. I haven't handed out a business card in like 5 years. I'm sorry. That was pre-COVID situation.
You want to pop that one on? Before we kick off, if you guys just want to give a brief introduction of who you are and how long you've been in the real estate industry for.
I'm Batman. Brad Morgan. I've been in the real estate industry since '96, but licensed since '98.
I'm Coco Zuniga. I got my license in July of 2017, and yeah. What else?
That's good.
Okay, that's it for now.
I'm Johnny Christensen. I've been in real estate, Keller Williams, for 16 years. Showed up at 22 years old, and I was $100,000 negative net worth. And I've been on my wealth building journey for 16 years, ever since I've been a part of KW. So,
awesome. I think the first thing is, wealth is a terminology that's thrown out quite a bit, especially in recent years. So I would love just maybe whoever would like to share your definition on wealth. What does wealth mean to you?
For me, I feel like wealth is more than just money. You can have wealth physically, you can have wealth mentally or spiritually. You can have wealth as far as your time and freedom. And I feel like all of those things encompass wealth. So it's not, to me, it's not just about money, finances.
I second the motion. I think the exact same. I think having a well-balanced life is what that is. And that could be you're heavier in one area than you are in another area. Obviously, money has to do with that. Stressing out about money or arguing about it can be super stressful, but wealth can be, I think you could find someone living in a third world country that feels like they're very wealthy that doesn't have a lot of monetary things.
Yeah, I think lasering in on a wealth building money definition for me, just to elaborate on that, it's changed quite a bit, to be honest. Probably every like 3-4 years, my definition slightly alters. I think early on it was simplicity, maybe being out of debt, maybe having a little bit of savings, maybe having a certain income level. Even the way I grew up, one of my early definitions of wealth for me was I wanted to be able to go to the grocery store and not stress about prices. Who knew we would have $8 eggs nowadays? So maybe we're back in that phase. But my the last 5-7 years for me has kind of been a little bit of a blend of net worth and passive income, kind of going back on that. But I'm really laser focused on my definition of wealth being now of living the lifestyle that I truly desire to live with me, my wife, my kids, being fully funded by predictable passive income. So me, I want to live the way I want to live and not feel like I ever have to work again, and it's still funded purely through passive income. That's my definition now.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand. Gary Keller talks about how his perspective on wealth is that you have enough passive income to fund your life mission, your lifestyle, right? And Gary he also talks about myth understandings, right? Which are myths or beliefs that people have in society that may not actually be true. So I'm curious, when you guys look back at your wealth building journey, what are some of those myths that you maybe believed that society kind of programs into people that you had to unravel or kind of create new beliefs around money and building wealth?
I think in real estate, it's that we got to have stuff, cool car, cool clothes, all those things. And there is a certain level of professionalism for sure, like a coat and a hat that we need to have, maybe some shoes and some socks, and a nice car, dependable car. You want to show up on your appointments and everything that way. But I think it's really easy to get into real estate and make $100,000 and you go get a cool car, right? Or, hey, I gotta have a cool house. If I'm a realtor, I got to go and spend this money and get there or whatever. So I think for me, at least if I'm talking to someone that's new, it's like, just start at a good pace, set your goals, short-term, long-term, in the interim, so that hey, I definitely want to have a nice home. I want to get there, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of like a $4,000 or $6,000 mortgage payment that's the majority of my money. It's I want to have this and it's a goal, and I want to have this awesome car, but maybe I've got to buy one that's a couple of years older or, something along those lines. But I think you don't have to have stuff to be successful. You don't have to, you used to always hear you got to spend money to make money. And that's one thing I've learned at being at Keller Williams. That's not necessarily the case. You can spend time to make money. You don't actually have to spend money to make money.
Agreed. Stuff and things, it's not always what it's about. We live in a very consumer focused society, and our value is not based on the car we drive or the house that we live in or, the kicks that we have. It's what we do for other people and how we add value to other people and how we find opportunities to give back. And I think that's one of the main things that I've learned is that it's not about what you have, it's about what you give.
I'd probably say there's a couple things on that I had to overcome emotionally, mentally, or, that I was programmed a certain way. Is number one, that there's going to be a lot of external help on my wealth building journey. I think there's mentors and trainings and stuff, but I think first off, I had to realize that I had to just become serious about my own wealth building journey. Number one. I think number two, a lot of you in the room's probably heard me talk about it, but just the whole concept of my left side and my right side of my world. Left side being the fact that you can go earn money, you can go earn income, you can go sell houses, you can have a job, you can have a W-2 or whatever. And somehow that path was going to lead me to some sort of financial freedom. And I've taught it for a decade that when you get in the real estate business, you didn't start one business, you started two businesses. You started your real estate sales business and you started your wealth building business. And just kind of tying those together as if, your 401k, your social security or whatever somehow is going to take care of your financial needs later in life. And I think that's one thing I was programmed that, the traditional go get a job, get your 401k or whatever. But just, I think I really had to understand the concept of having that wealth building business that I was dedicated to going out and building for me and my, family,
Mhm. Yeah. Keith Cunningham, he talks about how he says this really interesting. He says that success in business, and I think it relates directly to money, is not always about doing more smart things. He said it's about doing less stupid things, right? And I think oftentimes we all can say that we have some bad money habits, right, at some point in life. And so I'm curious if you guys have identified maybe any bad money habits you've had to step away from, or maybe common bad money habits you see other people have.
So I have a quote actually to that from Kevin here in the office. I don't know if you remember when he had the chessboard upstairs and he's like, everybody come play chess with me. Let's play chess. I'm like, why are you doing that? You're going to get beat every time. And he made a comment, but I put I have like 10 quotes and this made it in there. It's like, he's like, one bad move does way more damage than a bunch of good moves. And so I took that into my business. Like, it's true. If I do one bad investment, and I saw this a lot in 2008 where people making money, like, I want to go develop. They do 10 lots, bankrupt, one decision, but they might have sold 400 or 500 homes to get the money to go and do that. And it was instantly gone. So thank you, Kevin, for the quote.
That is Warren Buffett has one rule to investing, too, right? Don't lose money. What's rule number 2? Don't forget number 1, right? So you might want to write that rule down, okay? Is smart moves.
So one thing that I have, that I didn't know about, it was just the lack of knowledge. A big part of it was the lack of knowledge for me. I wasn't taught a lot about finances and investing and really nothing about money growing up. My parents were very hard workers. They were business owners and bless their hearts, they did, the best that they could for us. But I never had that knowledge and I was never taught the importance of, for example, tracking your spending and actually figuring out where your money is going every month. Because as an investor and somebody who's trying to get to that point where you can have all of your passive income cover your daily expenses, your monthly expenses, you have to know what those expenses are in order to have that goal of, what you're going to go for. So for me, it was a lot of learning over these last few years and just being able to, hone in on those. One of those things I think the biggest thing would probably be just tracking it, tracking your expenses, tracking what you're spending, where you're spending it, and, figuring out how to make purchases, being an investor. How am I trying to say it? Be an investor. What am I trying to say? You make purchases like you're an investor, not a consumer.
Bad habits. I love the quote or the saying that goes something down the road of, if success in life was all about just, gaining the right information, we'd all have six packs and be multimillionaires, right? But clearly it's not necessarily about the information or the principles in life. It's about the emotional and mental control for us to accept and internalize those, right? And I think part of that is just bad habits in general. Like, we are our worst enemies in health and wealth, right? Or pretty much in every area of life. And I think sometimes it's just realizing that and learning to understand it to then maybe control it. It's like you're on a diet or you're eating healthy and you're like, oh, I'm just going to screw it up, or even wealth. Like, sometimes I'll be disciplined and then I'm like, I just want to almost make a terrible financial mistake. It's like bringing variety into my life or something, and wealth building in general is very simple. It's just simply delaying your lifestyle, delaying your gratification enough to the point that you get really good at just paying yourself and building a little bit of a snowball, and then let time take over. And then it becomes more and more difficult to screw up, like I always say, my journey from going from Fat Johnny to Fit Johnny was way harder than trying to stay Fit Johnny, right? Same thing. It's just like you have, like the number one complaint I get with agents is they always just feel like they're behind on their wealth building journey. I get it, but you got to start tomorrow, today, yesterday, and part of that is just the longer you kick the can down the road on enjoying your lifestyle versus focusing on your wealth building for at least a decade. I always felt like, man, I feel like I'm making pretty good money, but my life is drastically less, fancy as other people's, because I was just that I felt I learned to enjoy more internally about where I was financially than outwardly of whatever that lifestyle gains you, and then you just got to get ahead of it, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, and then it just builds momentum, so if you feel like you're behind, just start now with better habits.
So I fare on the side of trying to be as realistic as possible when it comes to success, meaning that I've looked over the last, I started investing in 2016. And since then, what kind of market have we experienced? A bull market, right? Probably one of the best bull markets in history. And so I'm curious about what advice you would give to individuals who maybe started their investment journey the last 5 to 7 years, or maybe are just about to start their investment journey, wherein all they know is an up market. You buy stocks, you buy crypto, you buy real estate, everything has gone up outside of the last 6 to 12 months. But prior to that, it was a very easy way to win in investing. So I'm curious if you guys have any advice for those who are in that kind of situation.
Well, that's me. I started investing. I didn't buy my first rental property until 2017. So I fit that. It's been up the whole time. So for me, I feel like you need to continue to educate yourself and be consistent. If you're running an analysis on, whether it be a rental property, a flip, whatever the investment may be, that you're being more conservative with your numbers, you just have to be very careful, because with the turn of the market, it's a lot of investors have washed their shirts, and it's been painful. But if you're careful and if you continue to educate yourself, you'll be able to come through it.
So I have a question for the crowd. How many people here in the last 10 years have made over 75% of their net worth? So the majority of us. How about in the last 5 years have made at least 70% of your net worth, let's say, because I'm in that boat. Okay, so a large portion of us, right? So we've all done good in what Shoney's talking about. Hey, I invested in Dogecoin, made $1 million, I'm a billionaire, like all these things. But also looking, we're real estate professionals, real estate investors, we're giving people guidance in real estate. And so I like to look back at it. Joel back there, he's more conservative, he's my business partner, and look at different things like, okay, how now that the market has shifted, how has crypto done in the last year? Have I made a ton of money or not? Or how's that been? Stocks, if you've done an Amazon store, any of these things, right? What has that done? And then look at our real estate portfolio, and it's just stayed steady and even increased with rents, and all the other ones have been difficult. So I think right now is an awesome time to keep your eyes open to buy properties, or for your clients to buy properties, because townhomes that were 500 are now like 330, 350, right? And just paying attention to, I don't know if today's the right time to buy, but it's going to be this year. In my opinion, it's going to be a good time to purchase. And so do you stay away because rates are crazy? Do you invest a little bit or a lot? Do you just stay where it's at? I think right now is the time. In 2 or 3 years, we're going to look back and like, man, I really should have bought some stock when it was down. I should have bought some crypto when it was down. I should have bought some real estate when it was down. And so even if you've been getting your butt kicked over the last 12 months, don't let it scare you away from investing in what you've been doing, unless you've had bad habits. But for sure, real estate, I think, is a really, really good time to do that. Because if you're not confident in doing that, there's no way you're going to be able to go and tell your clients to do it, right? You've got to feel the confidence there. So I think right now is a really good time between now and the end of the year. I think this year will be a good year we're all raising our hands that we've made our money over the last 5 years. I think there's going to be a group of us in 2 or 3 years of like, it was really painful and scary, but ended up being really awesome at the end of it.
Yeah. Your ego is your biggest expense in your business, right? And it causes you to make some very poor decisions. And the last 5 to 7 years is a good reflection of just, help to boost your ego a little bit. I saw one of the best tweets ever. You probably saw it floating around, but it's like the 5 best tips to get to a $25 million net worth. Number 1 is wake up at 6 a.m. Number 2 is read a financial book every month. Number 3 is have an market cycle portfolio distribution. Number 4 is inherit $25 million. Number 5 is you probably, and part of that is just, it's satire of just, don't let your ego get in the way a little bit. But part of that is I was talking to Cameron and Clay and whatnot the other day about just a recession in general and market cycles and stuff like that. And even just the last 5 to 7 years, you probably made some good decisions, but when the government's pouring trillions of dollars, when rates are insanely low, when it's hard to lose, like you can't let that go to your head, because what happens is you get complacent, you shut your learning-based growth mindset down, you start being lazier on, your investment due diligence, all that sort of thing. And recessions are so needed. The positive things that are coming out of this recession for me are like 99% positive. Like it is making me firm up my investment box of criteria, the decisions I make. It is making me have a really great risk assessment when I put money in. It's helping me stay in my lane. Some of the things that I threw money in the last 10 years, what was I thinking? Or even just you get lazy on your own budgets, like who can remember a purchase you made 1, 2, 3 years ago that you're like, dang it, I wish I had that money back right now, right? But part of that is just, yes, the only downside is just recessions suck, I guess. But everything else is such a cleanse that we internally need that actually helps bring and keeps our egos in check, I guess. And for me, you got to absorb that, you've got to absorb the down lessons as well as the up lessons for that. So if you do have success the last 5 to 7 years, like really pay attention. Like there is one of the biggest wealth transfers in humanity. They're dubbing it the biggest wealth transfer ahead of us the next like 3 to 5 years in the history of humanity. Like right now is the best time to be smart and make investment decisions, because anybody in the room can become a multimillionaire in the next 5 to 7 years thanks to a recession.
Yeah. Simple terms to really double down on that is winter is the best season for investors. Like just pay attention. A lot of people I've talked to from 2008 that were investors, like a lot of their wealth was generated in that time. And there's a flip side, a lot of people who said that destroyed, right, their business, their wealth. And so just pay attention that this is an awesome opportunity. One thing.
So to that point, the money's going from someone to someone, right?
Totally.
So you want to be on the receiving side of that, making those good decisions where you're not super over leveraged. I have people that come all the time. Hey, I want to learn how to develop. I want to go do this crazy thing or whatever. And it's always like, just do 2 lots or 4 lots, because you can lose 20 or 30 grand on 2 lots or 4 lots, but you go to 100 and you're done for, and they're going to get repoed by the bank and someone's going to buy it back and make a ton of money. So just kind of, you need that mindset of like, hey, I'm going to be the person looking for those deals right now, to Johnny's point, because we see them every day. They're definitely out there, but I think they're going to get better and better because rates are forcing people to liquidate assets that were awesome when they started building them 2 years ago, when rates were at 3 or 4% for investors or whatever. But now at 6 or 7, they're like, I can't afford to keep it. And they're just going to walk away at cost, and cost from 3 years ago was awesome. So
what is your favorite asset class to invest in, and why?
Stay in your lane. Oh my gosh. Like I've invested in pretty much everything, out there, because I just love the variety. I love learning. I love the knowledge, love the experience, and almost everything I've touched outside of real estate I own, and real estate businesses I own and participate in, I've somehow not made money, right? Somehow, right? And part of that, we're in the greatest wealth building industry on the planet. Like there is more millionaires and billionaires created on the earth, basically, from real estate than any other industry out there, right? And so part of that is we get bored and we seek variety, and we seek, compensating for boredom or whatever. And part of that is, for me, is just, we have the opportunity of multiple streams of income by dealing with very corresponding, pieces of the industry, and the smartest agents can stay the most simple, in my opinion, of just go make as much money as you can selling real estate, save a whole bunch of it, and just buy as many houses and real estate as you can. And again, like even in a recession time period, people that own houses, or have some equity and things, like you guys have options or more options, right? So I just absolutely, my favorite's just buying real estate.
Same. I'm 100% real estate, and I've learned over, these last few years of being on this journey, the importance of diversifying and, putting your money in other places. And I haven't done that yet. It's still something that I'm, learning about and working towards, but everything for me right now is real estate. And the reason being is because I know real estate, because I like Johnny said, stay in your lane. Like I know real estate. I love real estate. I'm comfortable with it. And so that's where I put my money.
So I agree with Johnny, 100% stay in your lane. Because Joel and I have invested in a lot of really cool, fun stuff, and it very rarely does it turn out the way that you want it to be. It's not as lucrative, or you get sold something. But the nice thing in real estate, we know it, right? We've been trained for it. We've been doing it for however long you've been in the business, but really understanding, like, is this a good deal or not? How can I validate it? What's the historical data? If I'm going to take a risk, it's going to be in an outlying area. That's where Joel and I do most of our development, and our apartments and stuff is outlying areas. Very rarely will we build in, a very centralized location, because we've always found opportunities in the fringe a little bit of up and coming areas that have served us well. But yeah, we've done what everybody else has done. We have a crypto farm in Texas. So we have, all these things, and it's exciting to think about, but none of them, if you could take it back, you would be, oh man, if I could have that today and I could deploy that into options, into real estate. Like we were talking earlier about, like, if you had 100 grand or 500 grand, what would you do? I don't know that I would hurry and rush out and spend it, but I sure would be putting options on some dirt, or putting some options on someone that hey, this person wants to sell or finance, or do something that way. But I think if we stay in real estate, we know real estate, it's easier for us to talk to our clients when you have 1, 2, 10, 100 rentals. Like, yeah, of course you want to buy real estate. I got X amount of units, and it's been amazing. And my tax, I pay 12% tax because of my write-offs or whatever. I just think there's a lot of benefit in that. I think it's going to be very limited that you're going to find something to deviate out of real estate that's going to be awesome, unless it's your passion. Unless you're like, I just have wanted to do this forever. Real estate's just been a byproduct. You might go have success in that lane, but if you love real estate, you just got to stay in it.
Yeah. Did you have something, Donnie? So to tee up this next question, this was a principle that I had a mentor share with me early on in my career, and really has guided my decisions and the way I do business. And one of the things that he said was that there's 3 asset classes that are the best investments that you can make. And he said the first 2 are ones that are guaranteed ROI. Now, we know in investment terms, is there any guarantees when putting money into an investment? No, right? But these 2, he assured me that there's a little guarantee. Does not matter what kind of market we're in, you will always get a return if you make the wise investment. He said, number 1 is you are your best asset. You investing in yourself will always pay the best dividends. He said, network equity, the people you surround yourself with, have also the biggest impact on how you're able to grow. And then he said the third one was real estate. And what I've learned from real estate investing is that as long as you buy it right and you have time or perspective in mind that it is a long-term game, real estate is one of the safest assets that you can invest in. But I'm curious about you guys, when you started your investing journey, in what ways did you feel like you invested in yourself, whether obtaining new knowledge around investing, specifically going to masterminds, putting yourself in specific networks? What was it that helped you to really grow your investment knowledge?
Yeah, I'll start. I think there's the actual things I did, but it was also maybe where the desire came from to go learn about that, and I had a real estate coach a long time ago when we were diving into some of my wealth goals. He said, out of 100%, what percent, of your goal are you doing because you want to get there? and what percent of your goal are you trying to move away from not having that, right? So for a lot of my wealth building, I realized wasn't necessarily about the pleasure of me moving to lifestyle or money. It was moving away from how I grew up, poor and just not having very much at all, So I think very early on, I just realized I wanted a bigger life, and I was willing to go through what it took to get there. So very early on, even at the beginning of college, business management would have been easier, but somehow I talked myself into going through the accounting program, which nobody knows that's a miserable degree for my behavioral profile, being a bottom line, high D, fast paced kind of guy. But I just crave financial literacy because I want to master the game of money, and so like any financial book I ever heard about in any sort of format, whether it was a podcast, a class from someone from, whatever, I bought it. If you come to my house, it's just my whole wall of books. 92% of those are financial money books, one way or another. I definitely have just subscribed to reading. I'm lame. When I work out, I listen to podcasts that have to do with business and money, not music. When I'm driving in the car, like I'm not listening to music, I'm listening to, nerdy things, I guess. I don't know. Classes, like thankfully, this is a packed room, like anything that had to do with wealth building, I would attend it. There's a lot of jokesters out there that you have to filter a little bit, so you're not giving your time to non-experts. You have to be a little careful out there, or people trying to sell you $50,000 real estate investing packages or whatever. But overall, like if it was about money, that was one piece. And then the second thing is I got fascinated with, especially very early on in my early 20s, loving to learn from others. No matter what you choose to go do in life, there's people that have tried it and done it before. And one of my favorite questions is, if you were to go back to your 20s or your 30s or whatever age I was, what wealth building advice, Jeff, how many times have I asked you that question? Probably 100 times, I bet, in our relationship. Like I love learning from others, whether it's the mistakes or the successes. And part of that is you just have to learn from other people's mistakes versus repeating their mistakes, and then you'll learn. So I just tried to get ahead a lot of that. And that might have led to coaches or masterminds or whatnot for me. So
For me, I did a ton of self-educating at the beginning. Just as a little backstory, my husband at the time and we had some money saved up, and I was looking for an opportunity to get that money working for us instead of us working for our money. And honestly, I don't even remember where I heard that phrase, but it was something that I was very passionate about. And so I had a conversation with my uncle. This was back in early 2017. And he is an investor. He owns apartment buildings. His kids went to school up in Rexburg. He would, buy a house and they would live in it and rent out the other rooms to their students and friends and, and then sell that and 1031 it into other things. Anyways, so he gave me this, he sent me a couple podcasts, and it was from Bigger Pockets, and I listened to them and I had no clue what they were talking about because it was lingo that I'd never heard. ARV and LTV and 1031s and, just all these things that I'd never heard before, but I was like, this is awesome. And so I just started listening more and learning more. And at the time I was a manager at In-N-Out Burger, and I live in Harriman, but I was working at the In-N-Out in Riverdale, and it's a good hour commute. So I would put on a Bigger Pockets podcast on the way there, and then I would do it on the way back as well. And so I just, kind of self-educated, and I started going to the local meetups on Bigger Pockets. I learned about local meetups in your area, the Utah RIA, Salt Lake RIA, down here, they have the Utah Valley RIA, the Real Estate Investors Association. And so I started going to those, started networking, started meeting more people. So it was a lot of self-educating, like Johnny said, a lot of whatever financial, book or podcast or anything that I could get my hands on, like that's what I was doing. Along with the networking and meeting people. I was introduced in 2018, I was introduced to Tony Robbins. I'd heard his name, but I never knew who he was or what he did. And became a big fan of Tony Robbins, and he's, been a game changer in my life as well. So surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and who have similar goals as you, it's definitely, it's key.
My ADD kicked in listening. These guys forgot. What's the question? What's your question?
Now I'm thinking about the next
Your
question.
growth. Like your
Yes, your
personal,
growth
what do
journey.
you do?
Oh, okay, gotcha. So personal growth. So I'm the student that Kevin talked about, right? Like my first 10 years were killer. 2008 or 2000 or 98 to 2008, had a vacation home in St. George. It was awesome and had the stuff. And then 2008 hit and I don't have the stuff anymore. So but it was a really good lesson for me because I loved it. It was great. My kids were growing up and it was awesome. But I'm like, man, I feel like I've performed on a fairly high level for a decade. And just looking back, like, man, I don't have any rentals, my house is paid off, which is cool, but like, I don't have anything except for experiences, I guess, or whatever through it. So that was a good mindset for me of like, I just really need to be more purposeful on what I'm doing and keep my money more accountable because money is really fun to spend, everybody. It's really awesome to make and go and spend it. It's really lame to have it sit in the bank. And so that was a big change for me. And Joel, when we were talking, is like, what do we want to do? Where do we want to be at? So we got a coach, Caprice Gunn, and she does our business coaching and everything else. But so we're laser focused on what our long-term, short-term, midterm. We have 2 meetings a month that we go over it, and it might be the same thing for a couple months in a row, but it's also exciting, like Johnny's saying, like to hit those goals. And then, but also having the discipline to say, oh man, it would be so awesome to go get another vacation home in St. George. But then also like, I can go rent a really sick Airbnb, way better than I could ever buy probably for a week and spend a few $1,000 and not have to clean it when I leave. And so I have personally, and Joel's kind of the same, is we don't own any vacation properties or anything like that. We don't have boats or RVs or anything,
Did you sell your yacht?
I sold my yacht. Yes, I did. I think they have it on that show that Jen Yo was on. Back up. But anyway, so for me, it's definitely just being more focused on that. And as I'm getting older, I got grandkids and kind of thinking about, what time I want to spend there, what I want to help my kids with, and different things. And if you have that focus, not just solely on yourself, and maybe it is at the beginning, but kind of a bigger vision of like, what am I doing this for? What am I striving for? And it becomes more than you and your needs and stuff like that. Then it has more purpose, right? Like I'm like, hey, I can go buy this really awesome, expensive sports car, or I can take that money and divide it up 3 ways to my kids and help them get a rental home each or something like that. That's going to bring me more value than having this cool car. And so I do have one cool car, but outside of that, so if I feel like if it's really personal and purposeful, I guess, then it's easier to stick to the goals. But if it's just like, oh, this is eventually what I want to have, and I'm going to get there someday, the someday for me, 10 years went by and someday passed up. And it was a huge missed opportunity that I could have really benefited from back when houses were 100 grand, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So really quick, look at your notes for those of you who've been taking notes. And I want you just to circle the one thing that you feel like is the most impactful, the thing that you needed to hear today. And so just circle that one thing, whatever was most important for you to hear. And I'm going to ask one final question, which is just, what is the one philosophy or piece of advice you would give to everybody on this wealth building journey in today's market, knowing it's 2023, the economic climate that we're in? What's just that one piece of advice that you'd recommend moving forward?
I got it. Right now, reducing risk is the reward.
This has always been one of my favorites, but don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and then wait.
Can I have 2? Okay. These are basically just probably 2 habits that after everything, all the classes, everything that I've done, just 2 habits that I honestly contribute 99% of my wealth to. Is just number 1, like no matter how much money you make, save, invest, pay yourself first, whatever percent you can dedicate to. My rule has been 70-30. And again, even in there, I have had some terrible years, some terrible months. I've had some incredible years, back even 2010, I looked it up before I came in. It was me, My wife, we had 2 kids at that point. We made $17,000 in a year. I literally have no idea how we survived, but I even have my spreadsheet that year I still moved $4,500 over to my investment world. And there's other years that number is way bigger, and that number added up fast. And then that habit has just forced myself to find great places to put money and assets and stuff. But that habit alone, 70-30 every year, whether you make $0 or $1 million, move 30% of that over. And then the second one is just scoreboard. You know, I honestly can't remember the last time a month passed where I didn't have my hourly financial transmittal meeting at the end of the month, where I simply just go through and I just learn, I just account for my P&L, like how much money came into my life, how much did I spend, what was left over, what percent I invested. Like every month for at least the last 13, 14 years, I know exactly what those numbers look like. And then I would simply update what assets I have, what my liabilities are, and then what my net worth is. Like, so just my scoreboard and then that simple pay yourself first, those 2 habits have built everything I have, regardless what market you're in, what you buy with your investments, yada, yada. I would say those 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to piggyback on that one, Johnny, because that was one of the big ahas for me in 2016. I had, again, another mentor who said I needed to keep the right score, because at that point in my life, I was all fixated on how much money did I make that year. And he helped me to reshape, and he asked the question of how do you actually Google Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, their financial success? What do we put in Google? Their net worth. Their net worth, right? Now, most of people actually just look at how much money did I make last year, rather than tracking the number that actually matters, which is net worth, because it shows you where you're investing your money, if you're actually buying assets that are helping you to grow financially. So really quick, this is a great way for us to just share our appreciation for this group. Before we give them a round of applause, do we have 2 or 3 ahas that you guys would like to share? Just 2 or 3 things that really popped out. Let's go ahead and get a couple shares.
I'll just go ahead of the mic. Johnny said something that reminded me of that quote, that common sense isn't common action. And so I just think implementing the things that we've learned today is important.
An aha of mine is that it's really affirming to hear successful people say that one of the most important things is just the desire to learn. Especially as a young investor, it can feel really discouraging to not always have the instant success. But just hearing that 3 successful people just want to learn, they read books, they listen to podcasts, that kind of thing is just affirming for me. So
Love it.
I love what Johnny said about clearly wealth is about a mental and emotional game. Otherwise, we'd all be millionaires and have 6-packs. And so I think strengthening my mind and doing things that other people aren't willing to do that are difficult is going to progress me forward. Love that.
We got Joel, then Sean. Cool. Robin.
I think that watching the world and how everyone, it looks and appears that everyone just has this luxury life. I like listening to Johnny saying, put off those things that you want, because at a certain age, you kind of finally want those things or you want to do those fun things, or you have 6 kids and they're married wanting the beach house for a week, or, those things, they're real. And our natural desire is kind of to enjoy those things. So I think for me, an aha moment would be to put off those things and not let those outside influences make me feel like I deserve them or need them.
I think my takeaway is just consistency. Johnny's plan is not something I could be consistent at, but works for him. So I think everybody in their wealth building path is going to have a different path. My path is much more simple because simplicity is something I can follow and be consistent at. So don't feel like it needs to be something super grand. And I mean, Johnny's got an accounting background in mind, so he puts together a P&L every month. I don't do that, but we end up at the same place, right? And so I just think do something, set a plan that you can implement, and then just go and do it.
Kind of piggybacking off of that is the consistency component. Like you have your plan, but then be consistent. That was really good for me because I tend to get obsessed with like perfect execution and lack of action. So being consistent with the plan is better than not doing anything.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and give them a round of applause, but beforehand, Tolino's on she is the first one. Let's go. She is. First, we are going to be sending out a monthly newsletter. And this is going to be about the language of wealth building, the rules of wealth building, and how to have an actual scoreboard that works for you. And so if you'd like to get that email, go ahead and register. We'll send that out. We will send out later this week 6 books that you should read in 2023 around wealth building. So that will go out. So go ahead and subscribe. If you don't get this snapshot right now, that's fine. This will come in email format to everybody later this afternoon. Now let's go ahead and give them a round of applause for today.